This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This table is really tilted.
Excuse me? Am I gonna get a chance to speak?
Maybe I should take that back.
Denied. Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Take a giant step for mankind.
Welcome to the Tilted Table, with your hosts, Sean and Joe.
I'll have to take some type of a speed test for my brain in order to figure that out.
Folks, welcome to another episode of the Tilted Table, the internet's answer to a question that no one asked. I'm Sean Kabibi.
And I'm Joey Joe, the Fracky Mac.
And today we are going to talk about songs that are guilty pleasures. And I get how would you explain?
Oh, dude, I'm so excited.
This.
The topic for today is songs that you would be embarrassed that you were to play in front of other friends, or if you were had the windows down in your car and you're singing along to it or air drumming or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And someone pulls up next to you at a stoplight, you would reach over and turn the volume down, or maybe put the windows up type of a deal.
Yes.
And I know you and I were talking in our little pre-show deal about we both have laundry lists of these guilty pleasure songs.
I could have gone on forever. I'm actually stunned about how many songs that I would consider kind of guilty pleasures that I have. I before doing this and thinking about these songs in particular, I would have said there's probably 5 or 10 songs at most that I think I would be, I guess, quasi or even embarrassed to play in front of my friends and say I jam out to that song. Mm-hmm. But after kind of thinking about it and going through some of my playlists, the songs I have played, I'm like, wow, it's a lot more than just 5 or 10. I could have dragged this out for probably 30, 40 songs easy. Although I will say that some of these songs, I don't know if I personally would consider them a guilty pleasure, even though others might consider them a guilty pleasure. Okay. I think a lot of these songs on my list are actually well-written songs, and I think they're deserving of something beyond your typical bullshit song that is a throwaway pop song or something like that. Even though themselves they are pop songs and they are kind of that style, I think they're a little better than maybe other. Maybe I'm just trying to justify.
I was just saying you're justifying yourself.
I don't think so though. Some of them clearly are. I have songs on my list that are clearly they're just garbage pop songs, but they're catchy. I like them or whatever.
So I'm really excited to hear your list. So what's one of the very first ones that fits that description?
Well, I'm going to go with the one that I think that's spun me into even thinking about this, which would be "Heaven on Earth" by Belinda Carlisle.
Ooh, that is a good song.
So yeah, big hit song. Now I
it's like the roller skating rink song.
Yeah, and I think when that song came out, that's primarily where you're going to see. Belinda Carlisle was definitely in that
disco
in that
balls.
So yeah, for those that don't know the song, again, I thought about actually editing this episode where when we announce the song, we play a clip of it for people that may not know the song, but it's just that's copyright striking up and down. This thing will never get anywhere. We'll get shut down. So I'm not planning on singing the song. So if you're really curious, you can look them up. I'm hoping that most people know these songs. I don't think that's an unknown song. It was a massive hit. Now, I like Heaven on Earth. It's actually not my favorite song from Belinda Carlisle. That first album she put out, which is not my style of music, I really enjoyed a lot of the stuff that was on that album. All the other songs that she released I thought were really good. I think Heaven on Earth is the biggest hit off the album. And I think it gets this kind of moniker of being a guilty pleasure because I think a lot of people probably secretly like this song, but it is kind of an embarrassing song to probably blasting in your car.
Yeah, if you're at the gym and you're on the squat rack or repping out all of your bench pressing and whatnot, you don't want to tell anybody what you're actually listening to.
Yeah, and I might be biased because I had lunch with Belinda Carlisle when I was, I think, 10, so 9 or 10 years old. And I don't know if I've ever told the story. It's a story for another time, but I've never met, I shouldn't say that, I've met very few celebrities. She's one that I've actually hung out with for some kind of extended period of time.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, I don't have anything relatively recent on the list because in this new era of streaming, it's not like the good old days where you listen to.
Yeah, I would assume most of our songs are going to probably be a minimum 10 to 15
Yeah,
years
exactly. This is like back, when you're downloading off of Napster or, even cassette tapes or even vinyl in the good old days. But when you came up with this idea for the episode, I was like, ooh, this is easy. I love me some Britney Spears. And I think at the time, this is like, 2000 for me and in college, rave culture, all of that kind of stuff. And so like, Baby One More Time or Oops, I Did It Again. Like there was a time.
So wait, you're not picking a specific song. You're just saying Britney Spears in general.
I would say like any of the early
Okay.
Britney Spears stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you and I are hanging out in the garage and having a couple beers and whatnot, and it would just be weird to have Britney Spears in the background, even though I actually do like listening to it.
I think it's weird because, the songs if you're going early Britney Spears, you're essentially playing a 16-year-old girl, dancing around, in her little schoolgirl outfit.
Yes.
It's a bit creepy.
It's creepy. And what's funny is she does have a latest release album as of just a month ago. Do you know that she released Oops, I Did It Again, the 25th anniversary edition?
Well, good for her. She's
makes me
crazy.
feel
I've seen her TikToks and her dancing with knives, and she's not mentally well.
Do you have a free Britney t-shirt?
I don't. I don't know that much about her situation. I know a little bit more about it because I watch a certain podcaster named Drew Lane, the Drew Lane Show, and they often cover her and her Instagram reels or TikToks or whatever, and she's clearly got some issues. Now, for me personally, I never liked Britney Spears. I thought she was overrated.
What about that Britney Spears t-shirt that you wear sometimes?
I don't. You must be talking about somebody else, and not me. Although I wouldn't be against wearing a Britney Spears t-shirt. I wear weird t-shirts all the time. I'll throw Britney in there as well.
Yeah, I'll hook you up for
like
birthday.
her early stuff. Max Martin did most of her production, and his beats or whatever you want to call them. I thought they were really, really good. I don't know what it is about her specifically. I don't think she's a particularly great singer. Maybe the songs themselves just didn't resonate with me. Hit Me Baby One More Time. I'm not saying it's a bad song.
It's catchy.
It just didn't do it. I didn't think it was that catchy. It didn't do anything for me. I'm like, I don't think it's, it sounds like a lot of songs. I think Toxic is her best song, but but I shouldn't say that because I'm not super versed in her catalog. But Toxic, I thought, was a pretty good song.
She has a bunch of bangers. Yeah, all right. Wow. I totally dig it. All right, what else do you have on your list?
Okay, so let me see here. There's a bunch of different directions I can go into, but I'm going to pick something that's maybe a little bit newer. New Radicals. You get what you give.
Ooh, that actually, you know what? That's in my top 15 songs of all time. Period, hands down.
Oh, really? Okay, it's a great song.
It is. There's I have in one of the cars is a full JL audio system, and that song hits on that sound system. Yeah, I love that album. Are You Brainwashed Too? I think that's the name of the album.
Yeah, I think that's the name. I've never heard the album. I've only heard that song, and they released one more. I can't remember the name of the song. It was pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic call, man. Yeah, love me some New Radicals.
That's a great song, but it's definitely like I'm not entirely sure. And some people might not consider it a guilty pleasure. The song was really, sort of again anti-commercialism and all that kind of stuff. It was supposed to be the anti-commercial song, and that's kind of why the group fell apart because the guy who was the main guy, his name's Alex something, I can't remember his name. He was upset that he became a pop sensation off a song that was supposed to be anti-pop.
Right.
Right?
Didn't they go on to do like an Old Navy advertisement or something?
I don't know if he owned the rights to the song. I don't think he did. So whoever owned the publishing rights could sell it to anybody they want.
Yeah.
So I know, but the band he disbanded the band shortly after that song came out. So, but I think it's a great song. I definitely think it has some level of guilty pleasure to it. I'm not entirely sure you would drive down the street blasting the New Radicals.
I want to say it's track 11 on that album is what it is. That's a great one. Well, on my next one, I literally didn't even want to type this into my iTunes because I'm like, gosh darn it, the algorithm's going to get a hold of this and then it's going to suggest all kinds of more music like this, and I don't want it. But every once in a while, when Livin' La Vida Loca comes on, I'm like, da 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 da.
Sounds stupid.
Like I say, it's in the theme of guilty pleasure. I'm not saying it's like the greatest song or I want to listen to it all the time or I don't even want to listen to it like 10 times. But one time, if you go to a party or something and that song comes on, like, yeah, you'll see me tapping my toe over in the corner.
Yeah, Ricky Martin.
Like I said,
it is totally a guilty pleasure. I don't think it's a bad song. It's not one that ever drew me in, but that was a massive hit.
Huge.
There's no way that you can walk around today and act like I'm all about living La Vida Loca without being laughed at.
Exactly.
That's bottom line.
That's one of those that if you're going to listen to it in your car, the windows will be up. But yes, that was a fantastic album, and a song is great when you again, time and place, when that you could listen to like switch between 5 different radio stations and it was playing across all 5 of them.
Yeah, it was massive crossover hit. Yeah, and what year was that? Like late 90s, maybe early 2000s or something.
Early 2000s.
Yeah, I remember that being super massive. And I mean, he was kind of like, what do you call it? Like sex symbol dude. Yeah, he was. I mean, he was the total package. And but I don't. Did he have anything after that?
There was like She Bangs, I think was the follow up.
That's right. And that dude from American Idol, that Asian.
Yes.
What was his name? William Hung.
Yes. That was
maybe that's my next guilty pleasure. Is William Hung's version of She Bangs.
It was a culturally iconic moment when William Hung came out and did that track.
The whole American Idol thing is I don't know what to make of that era when it was like super super popular. Just again, the rise and continued rise of reality television. I don't really get, because like people who won that competition, most didn't do much of anything after it. But then you have these clowns that went on there and somehow gained even more fame just because they were either really bad.
Yeah. That was I think the term is a culturally iconic, because you could just say William Hung and it's definitely, if you know, and everybody's going to start laughing when you say that name.
Okay, I'm going to give you one that I think for a lot of people, and I think this would cross some generations, that this is a guilty pleasure, would be Escape by Rupert Holmes.
How does that one go?
See, you know it, but you don't know the title of it. If you like pina coladas, dun, dun, getting caught in the rain.
Is it really a guilty pleasure?
That's a great song. How dare you?
It's like that's what do they refer to as an earweevil? Once you hear it, you can't unhear it.
That you could describe it that way. I think you're short-sighted. It's a great song. First of all, the song actually is really dark. It's an extremely dark song.
Okay.
So
how so?
Well, it's dark, but it has a happy ending. So I've never really listened to the actual verses, right? So, and like I said, when I said the name Escape, I don't think you recognize it as the Pina Colada song. Am I correct?
Not at all.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't even know the title of it. It's just the Pina Colada song. So the song is called Escape. So the chorus. Let me just go with the storyline. The storyline is a guy who's really upset with his wife. The marriage is falling apart, so he decides to cheat on her. And he does that by either placing an ad in a newspaper for like a personals. This is back in the old days, folks, and they put ads in the paper. Or he responds to one, right? I can't remember which. And the ad reads, "If you like pina colada and getting caught," right? So that's what's in the ad. So if you listen to the story, he either answers this ad. I think he answers the ad. I think it was already in the paper, and he starts this relationship with this girl. I guess it's obviously there's no internet and FaceTime, so it's mostly correspondence through letters and whatnot. And he finally goes out to meet her, and it happens to be his wife. She put the ad in because she was equally upset with him. So that's
I never knew this.
Yeah, so
that is dark. Wow. Okay.
So, but I think they come together at the end because they realize they have a lot in common, because that's the whole thrust of it. Like, right? If you like pina coladas, if you like being caught in the rain, if you're not into yoga and you have half a brain, if you like making love at midnight.
Have you ever talked to anybody who knows this backstory of that song?
I don't, and I'm not sure how I discovered it. I'm assuming I discovered it because I've listened to the song enough times where I actually started listening to the lyrics.
Okay.
And then like, oh, I see what's going on. Because I think most people hear that song only know the chorus. Like I said, they don't even know the title of the song.
For me, yeah, same.
And I don't know. Again, if you heard that song, let's say, I think that song came out in like the late '70s. If it was being played in a club or on the radio, I don't think people were engaging that song to try to really listen to it.
No.
They're just singing along with the
background
fucking
music.
chorus. Right?
Exactly.
You know, it's a party song.
Right.
But Rupert Holmes' Escapes, great song.
Well, so an artist that I guess in the terms of respecting someone's career, I would say, iconic. I only like and appreciate one song from this artist. And when it came out, though, I just couldn't get enough of it, and I kept playing it on this was it came out on CD. The year was 1998.
Okay.
And the artist was Cher, and the song is Believe.
Oh, God. Fucking hate that song.
I just, again, guilty pleasure, man. I've always liked like house music, dance music.
Yeah, that's definitely your wheelhouse.
It was like that perfect like poppy crossover. It sounded good on an awesome sound system. If you had some bass, the lyrics I thought were cool. It was, you could either pay attention to it and chill and do homework. You could be partying with it. You could work out to it. I liked that. I like that song. But again, if all the guys are coming over, that will not be playing on the sound system.
Oh God, no! You would definitely just be roasted to no end.
It would be the wrong kind of a club, I guess you could say.
It's interesting when you say you like that song, and it kind of falls into a wheelhouse of kind of electric or dance music, and that's your wheelhouse with Cher. It's funny, I don't have it on my list, but my guilty pleasure with Cher would be the rock version that of her when she did "If I Could Turn Back Time," which I think is a great song. But again, I would not be blasting that when my friends came over. But yeah, that was like, I think some people kind of termed that album, which was called Heart of Stone, which is actually not a bad album, but it was definitely her arena rock era.
Right.
So I was more drawn to it because it's definitely more, guitar, drum oriented. I mean, the song Heart of Stone is a great song. If I Could Turn Back Time, I think it's a really good song. So interesting how I can't stand Believe. I think it's a stupid song. Well, I don't really like that kind of music. But funny how I hate your version of the guilty pleasure of Cher, when my version of the guilty pleasure is more the rock side of her. But but either way, it's both guilty pleasure. Nobody's blasting either one of these things.
No, that's one of them that you're like in a room by yourself with headphones on. Like, do you believe in life after love?
My mother was a gigantic Cher fan, so I grew up with Sonny and Cher. Like, Jesus Christ, I'm surprised I'm not more of a Cher fan. But again, my mom also grew up, shoving ABBA down my throat, and I love ABBA for what they do. Can't stand their music, but I'll give you one that I think a lot of people will probably recognize is Chicago's "You're the Inspiration." Also could be Peter Cetera. I think it was at a cusp where he was about to go solo. I don't think it's a Peter Cetera song. I think Chicago did the song. You know what song I'm talking about?
I do. Yeah.
I think in the setup musically, I think they had 3 keyboard players. That's how keyboard influenced this song. It wasn't piano or keyboard. But I love that song, especially the ending when they start overdubbing the chorus with another chorus. I think it just comes across as really great. But again, it's soft rock, and I think that song came out, it had to be 82, 80. It's like early 80s. I think it falls into that Air Supply kind of feel of that soft rock. And I don't care for soft rock as a rule, although I know it's really popular now as being termed as yacht rock. And all these bands are going out and playing these old Air Supply, and I'm sure this song's on that list somewhere too. So yeah, definitely a song I would not be just absolutely jamming to and blasting while I'm driving down the street. I definitely would be embarrassed if somebody like pulled up next to me and I was like, "You're the inspiration." Let me get trashed.
Can you do the air drums or air guitars to that song?
I don't think there's any air. Well, actually, there's one thing about the song I think is kind of cool. There's a distorted guitar riff. And they only use it, I think, 3 times, but it sort of intros the verse. So it starts out really soft, and it's like, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. I think that's part of that song is well written. Along with, like I said, the ending when they're singing the chorus and they're overdubbing another kind of chorus underneath it. And I thought that was pretty cool. It sounds good, but Peter Cetera does got a particularly good voice. I'm not as far as
for sure. No, I totally agree with that.
As far as a lot of his solo stuff, like he did the Karate Kid song. I hated everything else he's ever done. I don't like. It's purely soft rock, and it just sucks to me.
Do you
But
wear,
you-
do you
the
wear
inspiration's good though.
Yeah, do you wear a denim jacket when you're listening to this song?
No, I don't have a denim jacket. Not anymore. I used to do that.
I can see you with like a rat patch on the back of it. Or white snake.
No, I didn't have a Rat patch. I'm a big Rat fan though, as far as the my influences go. Rat was a big one. I think when I had my denim jacket, I know I had a Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction back patch, but I did have a big marijuana leaf that said legalize it, don't criticize it. And I remember putting that on my jacket and going to school, and I think it took about 15 minutes before I got a suspension.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, and I meant to do that.
Well, time and a place, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Leave a like on the video. I know you're enjoying this. Can you shut up?
The internet's answer to a question that was never asked. The Tilted Table with Sean and Joe.
And speaking of time and place, this will rank super high on definitely listening to this music by myself. But when it came out, the world itself went wild. And while I did not have a cardboard sign cheering on these people whenever there was a new album that came out, I'm not going to lie, I did go to Best Buy or Tower Records and swipe me whatever the latest NSYNC album was. And Bye Bye Bye, I still think is a pretty good music video. You got to be able to like do that, like, you know, the fist pump and like the little like chomping things with your hands as you're doing the dance, and or It's Gonna Be Me. I thought that was another great song off that album. But I'd say anything NSYNC, even like Backstreet Boys or something. They did have talent. Now it was all manufactured and made for the masses.
Oh God, yes.
So from an art standpoint, I definitely wouldn't put it there. But did I enjoy it? Yeah. Could I give my sound system a workout? Of course I could. And I did enjoy that.
Well, I mean, as far as NSYNC goes, It's Gonna Be Me. I don't think it's a bad song. It's the only NSYNC song I think I like. Bye 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 was, and it wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't like that song. Backstreet Boys, I Want It That Way, I think is a good song. I'm not sure I can name another Backstreet Boys. I know that one, back is back, all right. But I don't know I don't even know the lyrics, just know the melody. And that's about as far as it goes. Yeah, boy bands I don't think had any kind of, I don't know how to describe it. Like, yeah.
Well, As Long As You Love Me, right?
Is that what, wait.
As Long As You Love Me.
Who did that one?
Backstreet Boys.
Is that Backstreet Boys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for some reason, you'd think that boy bands would fall heavily into this category. For me, they just don't. I could think of a lot of guilty pleasures, and boy band songs are built for that. But yeah, for some reason, I can't think of one boy band song that, resonated with me like that. Maybe the only one I can think of is New Kids on the Block, I'll Be Loving You Forever.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's a cool song. And that's definitely one that I would jam out to, but I certainly would not be jamming out to that with anybody around me. I'll be loving you forever. Super falsetto voice. And then like they come into the background, just as long as you want me to be. Woo.
Oh man, you just made my day. That's so fantastic. Hey, do you know the Backstreet Boys actually released a single a month ago?
Yeah, I mean, they're on tour, so.
They released What Hurts the Most with Rascal Flatts.
Oh, I would say what hurts the most is listening to their music. But
I'll get you a signed copy.
What, you're going to sign it?
I will sign it. I will be
going to go get Nick Carter to do it?
I'll be the 7th Backstreet Boy.
All right. I'm going to hit you one that I think a lot of people might argue that this isn't a guilty pleasure, but this song was a huge pop hit. It was really the only hit they ever had, but it is a song that is complicated. It's not just your standard, chorus, verse, chorus, bubblegum kind of bullshit. Mm-hmm. Level 42's Something About You. And you're looking at me like, I don't know that.
Yeah.
See, I told you I could pick like some songs that like I think people would know. This song, I honestly I don't know the lyrics, but I'll sing the first verse. It's like, how can it be that a love carved out of caring fashioned by fate, something or other.
feel like they
Cause there's
need, like-
something about you, baby. So run. It's like that 1986-ish.
Okay.
Big hit. Great song. I mean, it's complicated. They were actually very accomplished musicians, and they wrote a pop song, and that's about as poppy as I think they were going to get. It was a massive hit. I don't know necessarily if I would be embarrassed to play this and blast it in front of my friends or driving down the road. I would definitely be cautious.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. But no,
You don't recognize this song?
I don't recognize that at all.
It's a great song.
I'm sure if we fired it up right now, I'd be like, oh, that one. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, because I'm thinking it's like 1986-ish, somewhere in there.
Okay. Well, right about that same period of time, and speaking of guilty pleasures, I would say that if you did play, obviously if you're hanging out with the homies and you're all about the same age, they could appreciate this. So band famous for, I think, only 2 real tracks. UB40.
Okay.
I Can't Help Falling in Love with You.
See, I know UB40, and I probably know that song. I don't recognize the title, though.
Or like...
Weren't they Red Red Wine?
They did Red Red Wine, yep.
What was the other band that was similar to them that did something kind of like... It was UB40 and Simply Red. Right?
Simply Red.
Pulling back the years. Right? Isn't that Simply Red?
That is Simply Red. Yeah.
Or some shit like that, right?
It was. Oh, man. You know what's funny is that for Simply Red, I thought that was a band. I didn't know until like the last couple of years that's actually a dude.
Well, a lot of bands are just one person.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know that much about them. I just remember that song being a hit, and I think the video was in black and white. And I think if they're not from the same place as UB40, they got to be damn close, and they looked alike. So you had the similar looking video, similar looking people from a similar place playing, I guess, a quasi kind of similar style.
Yes, agreed.
So I used to get them mixed up, or you probably at one point thought they were the same band.
You could easily do that. And it's funny with I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. So as much as...
How does that song go? Sing it.
Oh, man, I'm terrible with this. See, I was just going to say, as much as I appreciate music, I can't sing. I don't remember the lyrics.
I can't sing either.
Well, you sound a whole lot better. But I don't remember the lyrics to any songs, even the ones that like I'm listening while it's playing. I think there's maybe like 3 songs ever that I can actually sing along with.
I probably know the song, and if I just heard like the first couple of notes, like and then I probably know the entire song.
You probably do, yeah. Especially as a musician, I'm sure you could just break out your guitar and like play along with it.
I probably could.
Mm-hmm. But and I do. Red Red Wine's always entertaining. I can't have that one like on endless replay. Like maybe play it twice and throw it back on the shelf type of a deal. But,
okay, yeah. right.
And they did release a greatest hits album. I think there's those 2 songs.
What is it? I was going to say, what's their greatest hits 2 song?
There's another one that's called Here I Am, or Come and Take Me was the other. It had 2 titles. By UB40, and that's also on the greatest hits.
Yeah,
album.
that name ain't ringing a bell with me either.
I'll have Beverly over at Rasputin Records sign a copy for you.
Yeah, I guarantee you, if you go to Rasputin's, those people are so knowledgeable about everything. They would actually, know everything. Yeah, they would. They would know exactly what that is, and surprising what those people do know.
Mm-hmm.
So another guilty pleasure of mine, I don't know if you'll remember this song or not. It actually became a hit from a movie soundtrack, not from the person's actual album. It has a very interesting story behind it. But it's Dan Hartman's I Can Dream About You.
No.
No, not ringing a bell?
Not ringing a bell.
I can dream about you.
Oh, that's from a movie?
I
didn't know that was from a movie.
Hold you tonight.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Massive hit. So the movie was called Streets of Fire.
Okay.
And this is so 1980s. This is how glorious life was without the internet. And I'm not knocking the internet. The internet's an amazing thing, and I love it. I would hate if it didn't exist. But there was some kind of mystery when there was the life without the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Dan Hartman is a musician. He's a white dude, and he was contracted to do a song for this movie called Streets of Fire. And he did the song I Can Dream About You. It was a big hit. But keep in mind, when it came out, most people's first exposure to it was in the movie. So in the movie, there's a bunch of bands playing whatever show.
Okay.
And for I Can Dream About You, they had a bunch of actors come out as kind of a modern day Temptation. So it's, a group of black guys. and they perform I Can Dream About You. And everybody's first exposure to the song was that band. And
In the movie.
And I think the band was called the Surreals.
Okay.
So they come out, the Surreals perform the song. Everybody thought this is the band that does this song, which is funny because a pasty white dude actually sings the song, but he sounds maybe just urban enough that when you get 4 or 5 black guys out there that could lip sync it well, and they did all the dancing, the movie does it complete justice. These dudes really do look like they're performing the song, and it became a massive hit. And everybody thought it was the Surreals. And then, of course, it comes out that, well, it's not the Surreals, it's Dan Hartman. But again, there's no internet. I think everybody assumed Dan Hartman was a black man. So, of course, Dan Hartman, who is a good musician, but he's not a great stage performer, and he's not very charismatic. But, of course, now we have a hit song. We got to put a push behind Dan Hartman and put him out there. They do, and it's as bad as you would think it is. Yeah, that dude in the studio can sing a song. He can write songs. But when he's on stage, he looks like a painfully out of place, uncharismatic white dude performing this goddamn song.
Wow. And so did he end up just writing, being a songwriter for other groups and everything after that?
I mean, he had a career. It's interesting because in the 70s, he had a hit song called Instant Replay. And he was a performer, but I don't think he ever got much beyond kind of midline success at best. And so when I Can Dream About You became a big hit, and they really did try to push him as a pop artist. And yeah, it just didn't work. But I think his bread and butter was largely songwriting for other people.
Sure. Well, at least he had a good career then.
Well, sort of. He contracted HIV and died, I think, in the early 90s.
Oh.
So it didn't really have a particularly long career.
Well, and speaking of like guilty pleasures, so when you get together with friends and they're like, "So what are you watching on TV, man?" Or like, what kind of music are you listening to, or something like that. So I have one that hits on both counts, and I don't think I've ever actually copped to liking this and or watching this show. Cookie enjoyed it with me, but did you ever watch the show Glee?
No, I saw clips of it, but I think that was way past my time. I'm not a big fan of musicals to begin with, and high school musical type stuff would never have done.
No, well, for sure, and that's it. So I'm not a musical person, but I think the thing that made Glee different was they basically just covered new or popular songs.
I do know that. Yeah, this wasn't originals.
Right? No, none of. And
they did release a lot of those songs, didn't they?
They did. They released every season had an album that came out.
Of course, it would have a hit show. Yeah, you're going to capitalize on the music.
But it was always interesting, and I looked forward to. The storyline or whatever, I guess I could take it or leave it, but I thoroughly enjoyed the music all through each of the 4 seasons. So yeah, I'd say
so your guilty pleasure isn't a specific song, just that show in general.
It's just the show in general. If you came over, like I heard the doorbell ring and I'm watching that show,
turned it off.
I would change it to like ESPN or like Sports Center or like Rocky Balboa or something. I'm not copping to saying that I'm in the other room watching Glee.
I mean, that's a whole other episode. Guilty pleasures of television shows, like Saved by the Bell, which I grew up watching that show, but I would, even when I was a teenager, I would be embarrassed to be caught watching Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
Well, right on. That's cool. Like I said, I know I've seen clips and I've heard songs in various forms, either through commercials or trailers and things like that. But I never saw an episode of Glee.
I'll get you the box set on VHS.
On VHS, no less. Get it to me on Laserdisc.
Hey, I can hook you up.
Okay, so I got one that I think you'll recognize. So I'm finally going to pull one out that I don't think I'll have to sing, but I'm willing to do it if you don't recognize the song. Would be Thompson Twins' "Hold Me Now."
Ooh, I do know this song.
Right?
Yes, that is a great song.
It is a great. It's a well-written song. First of all, the Thompson Twins, I think, don't get enough credit. They were really good songwriters, and their songs were, I think, a little bit a cut above your typical '80s kind of pop. But that bass line in that song, doom, doo, doo, doom, it's just great with the way that he sings the song. I have a picture, doom, doo, doom, doom, pinned to my wall. Right, it's a great song.
That was very well done. That is a great song. What's funny is I haven't. That's not been in my rotation at all. But like as soon as I leave here, I'm gonna actually throw that on the system and listen to it.
And I'll tell you another one from them that they released it. It wasn't. I don't think it was a big hit. Sadly, I think there was a reason for that. A song called "Lay Your Hands on Me." That I think could be Thompson Twins' best song. It's another one of my guilty pleasures. The problem is there's two versions of that song. The one I think appears on the album, I think is terrible. The one that actually appears in the music video is so much better.
Okay.
And I don't know why they did that. Like a MTV, and it's not like a length thing. It's not like it's a trimmed up song. It's different. The way that the chorus is sung, they had, I think, some backing singers on the chorus of the album version, and they sing it a little bit differently. And the way that they arrange it, it sucks. The way it's done in the music video is absolute gold. It's one of my favorite songs from them. It could be my favorite song from them, but I am a Thompson Twins fan. I like a lot of their music. So if you're gonna throw in, Hold Me Now in your rotation, if you can find the video version of Lay Your Hands on Me,
okay,
that's a great song.
Well, I do have some time on my hands for the rest of the day, so I will be exploring the Thompson Twins discography.
Yeah, it's really great stuff from them.
Well, speaking of a pair of people, I want to give a shout out to two of the world's all-time greatest musical artists. I actually have a couple concert T-shirts of theirs, and definitely unappreciated. In 1989, they had released a follow-up of the All or Nothing remix album.
Okay.
On my two favorite people, Millie and Vanilli.
Oh my God.
I do like some Blame It on the Rain, or Girl You Know It's True.
Fuck, that should be all over my list in some way or another.
Those videos were fantastic, and I remember, at 1988, I'm 9 years old. I got my cassette boombox in my room, and man, both of those songs were just fire. And I remember with like the choreographed dance deal for Blame It on the Rain. I was like, man, what's the saying? Women want to be with them, men want to be them, or something along those lines. Yeah. I'm like, man, I want to have a cool suit like that. That is awesome.
Yeah, that album was a massive success, despite the fact they didn't sing one note on it. The group of people that actually sang those songs, and it was fairly extensive. I think there were like 4 or 5 people that did some type of vocals, whether they were lead vocals and backing vocals and whatnot. And that story is wild because when it was exposed and the career got destroyed, they did do a follow-up album. So they went two different. It's funny because they went two different directions. Rob and Fab, the two actual guys, they did an album where they sang, and we learned that Fab could actually sing. Rob, on the other hand, could not fucking sing. Right. He was terrible. And they released an album. You're saying All or Nothing. Is that the Rob and Fab album? I felt like the Rob and Fab was just self-titled. It sold, I think, a record low of like 10,000 copies. And they did do a music video.
I don't even see it on Apple Music.
Oh, no. You just have to look it up on Google. There's no way that would be on any kind of streaming service. So they did do an album where they sang, and, Fab actually can sing. And Fab today tours. He sings Milli Vanilli songs. And honestly, he's done a pretty good job of where it sounds like the actual song. So he's been able to figure out how to sound like the song that he lip synced. So he's actually, a pretty accomplished singer. They just didn't give him, a chance. I don't know if people really know how that situation kind of came about. That Rob and Fab were dancers, entertainers.
Yep.
And quote unquote singers, although they were from Germany at the time, they didn't speak English all that well. They had really heavy accents. So, but they were good looking guys and they could dance. They fit this mold. And the guy who's the producer, and I can't remember, I think his name is Fred something. He sees them and says, "Hey, I want to do an album with you guys." They had all these songs written. These guys go into the studio expecting they're going to sing these songs. And he just, makes them sign these contracts to discover that, like, you're not going to sing the songs. I'm bringing in all these other people to sing the music. You're just going to lip sync it, and we'll do it that way. So they claim that they were sort of forced into it, and that they were lied to that they would be the ones singing, and it didn't end up being that way. And they claim that they just got caught up in it. The album blew up so fast that they just didn't know how else to deal with it other than just to continue the lie.
Right.
And so after it fell apart, Rob and Fab actually did their own solo album. It was a massive flop. And the reason the producer didn't want to use the actual people who sang was because they were older and they weren't particularly attractive. And this is extremely true. Mm-hmm. They weren't. He decided to do a second Milli Vanilli called The Real Milli Vanilli, where he actually had the people who sang on the first album just do it. And that flopped big time. And I saw a live performance of The Real Milli Vanilli, and it's strikingly, the image, it does mean something. Mm-hmm. They look terrible.
But the vocals were awesome.
They could sing. The songs weren't as good. At least what they were playing on this live clip I saw, the songs weren't nearly as good.
Mm. Well, there you go. See, that's both. We just hit both of us on Milli Vanilli, and see, I will play that with people around. I will play that with the convertible top back in my iRock Z.
But I think because it was such a big scandal and it's not them singing, that there's some kind of like, you could blast it and some people might just think you're being ironic. All right, yes, so it's not embarrassing. It's Milli Vanilli.
Yeah, of course. So great though.
I have an important announcement for you, so stay tuned.
Yo, that's some next level shit, bruh. So you got me. Big deal.
The internet's answer to a question no one asked. The Tilted Table with Sean and Joe.
Folks, thank you for joining us for another episode of The Tilted Table, the internet's answer to a question that no one asked. I'm Sean Kabibi.
And I'm Joey Joe, the Fracky Mac.
And you can catch us on all the major social media platforms at The Tilted Table 1.
Yeah, ring the bell, subscribe, do all the things.
Yeah, let's go throw on some Belinda Carlisle and rock out.
Hey, I'm going to go be a backup singer for CNC Music Factory. That's where I'm at.